UIC. Freedom of people of need. Hell yeah. Freedom of people of need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom of people of want. Freedom of people of need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom of people of want. Freedom of people of need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom of people of want. Freedom of people of need. Yeah, yeah. Real man a road. Now bow wolf in a tree grand a road. Now bow down to no demon a road. UIC when you see man a road, me say yeah. Real man a road. Now bow wolf in a tree grand a road. Now bow down to no demon a road. UIC when you see man a road. Ready for broke every chain. The when you free up the people, levitate. Jamaica member, you ever great. I feel burn up the fire upon every snake. Me give thanks in every way. God still a look down once see we safe. UIC run the road long time. GLP and PMP I sell we out. Still I do the test even though we know the end result. If them coulda kill with them catch we and hang we know. No force no coercion, me freedom in a step. No one fi rob we and kill we and feel them and go make it out. You know see the leeches, you know see the hands of the devil when him sleep with. You know see the leeches, you know see the hands of the devil when him sleep with. Yeah, real man a road. Now bow wolf in a tree grand a road. Now bow down to no demon a road. UIC when you see man a road, me say yeah. Real man a road. Now bow wolf in a tree grand a road. Now bow down to no demon a road. UIC when you see man a road. Yeah, me drop the braffin now, and then I laughing now. What them talking about? Everything cement and we not talking growth. Jamaican intellectuals are marching now. Them couldn't get the last laugh, no them laughing loud. We don't need the small talk when we talking, bro. We don't need them 5 grand, we need to part them now. Long time GLP and PMP I sell we out. Still I do the test even though we know the end result. But if them coulda kill with them catch we and hang we know. No force no coercion, me freedom in a step. No one fi rob we and kill we and feel them and go make it out.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another edition of UIC Liberty TV. My name is Joseph Patterson. I'm the president of UIC Jamaica, and I'm looking forward to having a chat with you and our finance committee today as we share with you the financials of the organization so that you have an idea as to where our income comes from and how we spend our income. But before we get into that, let me just do a shout out to everyone who is on the call right now. I see Rosemary King. Good evening, Miss King. Good to see you on. Anne-Marie Taylor, good evening to you as well. Good evening to all our friends here who are joining us today. I have some special guests here with me this evening who you might have not seen before in person. So I'm looking forward to you seeing them today. The UIC is structured in such a way that we have special committees that takes care of certain events, and one of those committees is the Finance Committee. The Finance Committee is comprised of myself, the General Secretary, the Treasurer, of course, and we have currently 2 other members on the committee who I'm going to introduce to you shortly. So good evening to all of you. Welcome again. Welcome Sylvester, welcome Tracy, welcome JMH. Good to see you on, glad you can join us. Welcome Liddy Williams, good to see you as well, and Carleen Jones. Thank you so much for your overwhelming support over the last several months in particular as we go through some difficult challenges and as we try to build a movement to rescue Jamaica. So let me begin by introducing our first guest this evening is the Treasurer. Welcome, Ms. Naika Williams. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Good evening, everyone.
Wonderful. Good to have you, Ms. Williams, and looking forward to hearing you telling us about the financials, where we get money from, how we spend those monies, and whether or not we're doing a good job of managing all of this. So thank you so much for joining me this evening. Just for the purpose of our viewers, where in Jamaica are you from?
I'm actually in South Manchester at the moment.
Okay. Is that where you were born or?
Born and raised, still living here. Hopefully,
Okay,
I'm hoping to move soon.
You're hoping to move soon. Well, nothing is wrong with staying in the same place for a long time, but welcome, Madam Treasurer. I'm sure everybody is happy to get the chance to meet you. You're one of our younger members, and so we're always happy when we have young people engaged in the whole business of nation building. And so congratulations to you for stepping up to the plate. Good evening to our other viewers. I see Roland Forbes. I see Maurice Williams. I also see Mitzi Lawrence, Mr. Info, Tracy Blake. Good to see you, Tracy. Long-standing member over there in, I think, St. Anne, right, Tracy? And good evening, Mr. Wallace, Sheldon Wallace, up in Ipswich in St. Elizabeth, and Wilbert Myers. Nice to have you all. Let me now introduce another one of our guests here today. And we have Mr. Owen Aljo, who's a member of the Finance Committee. Welcome, Mr. Aljo.
Thank you so much. Yes. Good evening to all.
And for the purpose of our various guests, could you just tell us, where you are and a little about yourself, maybe?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm currently in Florida, in Miami, Florida to be specific. Yes, I'm a member of the Finance Committee and the Jump Committee as well. So, right. So it's happy to be with UIC. It's an organization, it's a movement that is for the upliftment and the betterment of the people of Jamaica.
Wonderful. How do you find being a member of the Finance Committee? Is it something you enjoy, or is it something you'd rather pass on to somebody else? How do you feel about the Finance Committee?
No, it's something I enjoy. Looking through the numbers and making sure that everything is in proper order. Everything is transparent. There's always a trace back to source documents and everything. So, it makes the audit a lot easier. And that's what we're here for, to make sure that everything is how it should be.
Excellent. And you're also in the diaspora, which gives us a different vantage point as well. So it's not just local Jamaicans involved. We have Jamaicans overseas who are playing a role in the whole process of nation building. And you can't build a nation before you build a political organization to lead that nation and to transform that nation. So we're very happy to have you on board. Tell us a little about your academic background.
Sure, yes. Yeah, absolutely. Went to York High School in Jamaica, York Castle High School. After graduating, migrated to Florida. Continued education, went through to Miami College, and did my initial college degree there. Then moved on to Florida International University and did my undergraduate in finance and international business there. And graduated and went on to Barry University for my master's degree. And did an MBA at Barry with a major in management, accounting, and finance. So I've covered pretty much areas of finance and accounting and management as well.
Wonderful. So the UIC is really blessed to have you as a member of the Finance Committee, because you bring a wealth of experience. I think maybe over 35 years of experience in the field.
Yes.
And so it's finance, it's management, it's I think you worked in the public sector as well, did you?
Yes. I've worked in the public sector, both public and private. I've worked with the state government, I've worked with the county government, and private. And currently, I'm in my own consulting company, my brother and myself. So
Wonderful.
we have a consulting company that we do, finance and economic and management.
And your brother happens to be a twin, right? So you're twins. So I have to make sure I bring both of you on at the same time, because people might think it's the same person, So I'm going to bring him on shortly so that they can see that both of you are here. So you are the more the MBA type and more the the management, accounting, and operations. And in fact, I should let everybody know that you and your brother are the author of our first national budget setup for Jamaica. You actually sat down and did all the numbers for us, crunch all the numbers, designed the whole framework. with some input from myself and others, but you're the key architects. So Jamaica is very blessed to have such talent and knowledge come back from the diaspora to help us build the nation. So thank you. Let me bring your brother in right now so they can see the both of you on screen at the same time. And, so welcome, Gary. Good to see you on. I'm going to take your brother off for a second now. So 1 sec. So yes, welcome, Gary. You are the chairman of the UIC's Finance Committee. So you oversee the entire operations of the Finance Committee. You're going to present some numbers to us in a little bit. But first, tell us a little about yourself.
Okay. All right. I was born in Utrecht, Jamaica, of course. Grew up in Brownstown, a small town in St. Attended York Castle High School. From there, went on to migrate in about 1979, 1980. Then attended Miami Dade College. Did an undergrad in business administration there. And then from there, went on to the university where I did graduate in accounting. And then after completing that, went to university where I did also my MBA as well. After completing university, went into the workforce for a little bit, into the international banking sector. And then also private, but an NGO that where they're budgeting and their reimbursements and all of that. And then while there, I decided to be on my own. But to do that, I first needed to take the exam, the Certified Public Accounting exam, which I was successful getting through, and then I started my own practice. So I've been in practice since 1995, roundabout. So I've been about 27 years in public practice in my own company, as well as joining my brother in a company, which he's really the one behind that company in the of projects and so as well. So I've come with experience right across the spectrum of business, from consulting, private accounting, management accounting, costing, audits, internal audits. So I've done the full spectrum of business, so to speak, strategic management and everything.
Wonderful. So in other words,
contribute what I have learned and what I have.
So I was going to say, Mr. Aljo, that the UIC is obviously in good hands. We have two very experienced gentlemen with a broad range of understanding of finance and business and operations, public and private sector combined. But why would you choose to give of yourself to a movement like the UIC? What motivated you to want to give this quality service and to give of yourself to such a movement when there's so many others you could have joined?
Right. It's my love for Jamaica. I love the people of Jamaica. Then I want progress, and I have in both parties over the years, and I've realized that they both lost their way, and instead of putting in programs to help the people, motivate people, to get the Jamaican people inspired to produce and to be productive, they have overseen a program that has kept the downtrodden. And I believe that Jamaican people have such talent, such capabilities of achieving so much. Only they're given the opportunity to do so. And I believe that with my wealth of experience and knowledge, I can contribute to help lifting and empowering the Jamaican people, creating that structure, that infrastructure that will empower them to achieve their own individual desires and objectives in life.
Thank you very much, Mr. Aljo. I'm going to now bring in all of our guests all at once on screen so we can all be seen. And I mean, both of you gentlemen, I know because of your years of experience, you had a lot to talk about, but we didn't hear a whole lot about Miss Williams. So I'm just going to give her another opportunity to tell us a little bit more about herself. I mean, she's young, she's up and coming. I think she's very privileged to have mentors like yourself who can guide her and help her to mature into the professional accountant that she wants to be. She was brave enough to accept the role as treasurer. She has worked before as a volunteer for the organization, and then she was hired as an administrative assistant. And then, lo and behold, she was asked to step up into being the treasurer for the organization. And I can tell you personally, it has been a great pleasure working with Miss Williams. She and Mrs. Patterson, my wife, works very well together. It's like mother and daughter. And she has just really matured into the role. So, Miss Williams, tell us a little about what brought you to the UIC. What is it that you find appealing about it? Being a young person, you're actively now involved in politics in the sense that you're helping to build a political organization, not as a candidate, but as somebody who's helping to make sure the organization is run properly. What motivated you to do this?
Well, let me just start by saying this. I am 21 years old, and ever since I was born until now, I just felt like this country has been stagnant. So if I see something where I can contribute my time and energy to make this whole country itself a better place, I am more than willing to do that. And that's why I am here.
Excellent. How do you find working with Gary and Owen?
It's for me it's absolutely fun. It's accounts. We're dealing with numbers and stuff. Many persons, I don't want to say my age, would be a bit more comfortable with persons in their age group. But for me, I prefer to be around, you know, older people
more
because I
senior
get,
persons, right?
I get
Yeah.
to learn more that way from
Mhm.
their expertise. So
Excellent.
it's a great journey so far.
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard for me to ask you how you enjoy working with me because you don't want to say that in front of my face. But am I a tough boss or am I somebody you can work with? And be careful what you said because I might have to fire you. Just kidding. I can't do that.
No,
You're elected by the members to serve in this role. In this case, you are elected by the NEC. But how is your experience working in the UIC with the team and with myself?
well, for me, you are like this caring teacher where if I don't know something, you are always there to say, all right, then look, this is how it's done. Because I just have a high school knowledge in accounting, right? And so far, well, because of you, there's so much that I've learned that I didn't know before.
Hmm.
So
Wow.
working with you has been an honor, to be honest. It's been
Wow.
great so far.
So we've added like 15 years of experience in a few months, eh?
Right, correct.
Wonderful, wonderful. We're really proud of you. You've been quite a professional, and we look forward to seeing you mature into finance minister one of these days, eh? So keep up the good work. So let's now turn our attention, everyone, to the numbers of the UIC. I'll preface what I think, Gary, you're going to be presenting the financials, right? Will it be you, Gary?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So before Gary presents the
Right.
financials, And I'm not.
We're presenting the
Go ahead.
finance for the UIC.
There's a delay in the in your internet versus mine, so that's causing a bit of a disruption. But let me preface this by saying the UIC is funded entirely by ordinary Jamaicans. We have no major funder. And we deliberately did not go after major funders. We went after the Jamaican populace here at home and abroad because we want to have a grassroots movement, a grassroots political party that is funded and owned by the people of Jamaica, as opposed to what obtains now for the others, which are owned by a few wealthy contributors. We think it's unhealthy for political parties to be owned by a few wealthy individuals. We believe that you must have a broad-based support that allows no undue influence by anyone, so that the organization can remain true to its values, can stand firmly on principle, and can actually deliver what is in the best interest of the broadest sector or segment of society, which means every Jamaican. So whether you're rich or you're poor or middle class, the UIC must represent you by protecting your rights. Fundamentally, your right to your life, your right to your liberty, and your right to your property. So no government should have any way of infringing on those fundamental rights, and we want to protect those. Then we want to make sure you have a safe environment, a clean environment, and an orderly environment, because with those three things, you now have the capacity to be very, very successful. And undergirding all of that, we have to make sure we invest in building our human capital, so our education, our healthcare, our housing, to make sure that we have the fundamental things in place for even the poorest among us to be able to rise in that society and to become very wealthy, body, mind, and personality, right? Your whole person. So having said that, I'm now going to turn over to our Finance Committee Chairman, Mr. Gary Alcho, and he will do the financial presentation. Go ahead, Mr. Alcho.
Okay. But first, let me say pleasant good evening to everyone. And as we address this important part of the UIC, which is the financial condition of the UIC. And I'm just trying to get documents in place. You can just give me just a second.
Sure. Are you going to try to do a screen share, or we can see you clearly? Yes.
Okay. All right. Let me just go through the.
So while you're getting that ready, I see some comments in the chat. Somebody says, "Good evening. How do I become a volunteer?" Are you ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
All right. Go ahead.
All right.
No,
in regard to the finance.
I can't see your financials though. Do you have them? Are you?
So you can,
do you want me to? Did you send it to me? Do you want me to share it?
yes, I sent it to you. If you can share it for us.
I'll share it for you. No problem.
Yeah.
One second. In the meantime, Miss Williams, can you just read through any comments in the comment section, and I will just get this up on the screen here.
Absolutely, no problem. Absolutely.
All right, so I'm bringing this up here. Okay, I think I have it here. Okay, just a minute. I think this is it here now. Okay. There we go. Can you see that?
No, nothing yet.
Nothing yet, no? I've shared it. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Now you should have it. There we go.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, so go right ahead.
Okay, so first of all, to get with, I'd just like to state that the financial statements or the financial reports are based on certain conditions. One is that it's prepared on the accrual basis of accounting. So this basis recognized is income when the revenue cycle is complete and not necessarily when payments are received. And it's important to make that note so that the financial statement can be viewed in the proper context. The spaces also recognize expenses when the expense cycle is complete and not necessarily when payments are made. It's prepared based on general accepted accounting principles and on the international accounting standards. Accounts receivable are reported at net realizable value. Accounts payable are reported at face value. The equipment are reported at cost and depreciated over its useful life. And the method of depreciation that is used in preparing this financial statement is the straight line method. This method results in a constant depreciation rate charged against income over the life of the asset. In addition to that, in the statements, there are certain items that will show up, like realized property, realized foreign exchange, or unrealized foreign exchange. So I'd just like to explain what those are before we get into it. The realized foreign exchange gains and losses are reported when there is a difference between the exchange rate when funds are received or paid out. And the unrealized foreign exchange rate is very similar, except that there is no actual payment or receipt at the end of the year, but it's expected to be so. And under generally accounting principles, we have to use the rate that exists as of December 31st to determine our unrealized foreign exchange gains and losses. Another important point that I need to address as well as we go through is that the UIC has not been able to open a bank account in the organization's name. However, personal accounts that are dedicated to the organization's activities are currently used. No commingling of funds occur, as no personal funds or activities are associated with the dedicated account. So I just wanted to lay those out clearly so that we can then proceed into the actual financial statements. The first one we look at is the 2020. As of December 31st of 2020, UIC had in its total cash in bank about $165,000. And of course, they had liabilities as well. The liabilities in 2020 exceeded the current assets, which is the current liability exceeded the current asset, because the current liability was about $306,647. So this is a position where a working capital was exhibiting negative situation in 2020. So with hard work and development and dedicated UIC volunteers and members, that financial situation changed in 2021, which I'll get to shortly. In regard to the income statement, or let me just look at the donations for a minute. The donations were 165,000 in 2020. By the time I shouldn't say the donation, the balance in the account of the donation was 165,000. In terms of the amount that was collected in 2020 for donations, that amount to $444,676 in donation, pretty much round about that. So we're looking at about 450,000 for all of 2020. That was the donation that collected on behalf of the UIC. And with all of that, and with all the expenses that UIC had to incur in 2020, the expense was very, very curtailed because so many other activities needed to be carried out, but just were not able to carry them out in 2020. But even with that, we ended up with a positive ending balance in 2020. So in 2021, things start changing a bit. And by December 31st of 2021, the total cash in the bank accounts were 1,565,000. So there was a tremendous surge of donation in 2021 over 2020. And that has contributed through by the growth of the UIC in its membership and in persons that realize how important it is to have a party such as the UIC that will look out for the interests of the people. So it's been reflected in the donations as well, because by the time 2021 came around, the donation for the UIC in total was $3,646,871. So about 3.65 million. Most of that was from donations, contributions, membership dues, and so on. So it has grown tremendously in just 1 year in terms of contribution from 2020 to 2021. And I'd just like to do a comparative analysis to put it more in perspective. And let me just go to the comparative balance sheet, income statement. Okay, in regard to, and percentage, I think gives a better picture than just the raw numbers. So in 2021 compared to 2022, in terms of the total cash that UIC had, it grew by 844% between 2020 and 2021. So that's a tremendous growth in the cash balance at the UIC. In terms of the income, in terms of percentage, that grew by 722%. It grew from 444,000 to 3.7 million approximately. So that growth was also a tremendous growth. But that growth is just, although it contributes so much to the UIC expanding its role and its activities in the country, it's a short, very, very short fall of where the UIC needs to be. Expenses have been curtailed so much that for the UIC to be operating on this basically a shoestring budget is commendable, and still having some kind of profitability, well, not profitability, but surplus, so that that can be used for the 2022 period as we continue to grow membership and grow donations and contributions to the organization. And in regard to the number of donors, I'd just like to say that that grew from approximately 5 or so in 2020 to about 104 in 2021. And for the first 3 months of 2022, we're up to about 96 persons contributing to the UIC. And including in these numbers, of course, there are persons that are doing monthly donations, not just a one-time donation. So those persons have also helped in driving the financial goals of the UIC, which, as I say, and I should point out, still is a far, far way from where it needs to be, but it is going in the right. And with that, I think I have pretty much captured the essence of the financials and where we need to go and where we need to be at this time. And then if anyone has any questions or any comments or to add on to this, then that's fine.
Thank you very much, Gary. Maybe Ms. Williams, you can now take comments, read comments and questions from the chat section and get us to answer them, please.
It's mostly comments for now.
Sure, read them out. There's some people who said they're listening, so they would love to hear you read out any comments that is relevant.
Only a few persons were saying that they can't see the slides in the last part.
I had a problem with the slides, not really being as user friendly as we would like them to be. I'm going to try something here to see if I can remedy that somewhat. Let me know if you can now see a bit of report. I'm going to go from here and go directly into a share mode here. I want to see if we can get so what we have here is just a quick comparison between 2021 and 2020. This is the P&L. Can you see that clearly? Let me know if that is showing up clearly on the screen. Can you see that the 2 years, 2021 and 2020?
Yes.
Good. So as Gary pointed out, we had contributions. You see the amounts, donations, legal fund, membership, merchandise sales, gains on foreign exchange, and so on. So you see the 3.6 million versus the previous year, which was 444,000. So a growth of 722.37%. So these are small numbers, eh? Like these are not massive numbers, but in relative terms, we have been surviving on nothing, and we got to 2021 where the donations increased tremendously. Still nothing compared to when you consider that the other two parties got in one election cycle alone, within the couple of weeks, the few weeks that we had election, they were given 300 million, and we're talking about 3 million here for an entire year. In a few weeks, they got 300 million from the private sector. So obviously, they are massively funded compared to us, and that's outside of what they got throughout the year. The 300 million is only what they got for the election, directly for the election during that election cycle. So we got 3.6 million over 2021. One thing I should point out here for viewers is the merchandise sales. These are the T-shirts that we sell to our members and supporters. So you'll see the cost of those shirts, 123,000. The sale, 135,000. So a small profit, so to speak, is contributed to the bottom line of the organization. And here you see the expenses, like when we did the 14 parish tour, 424,000. You see the audit fees not recorded here yet for this year. So once the auditor is finished, he will give us the number and we will book that here. Then you see advertising and promotion, you see the bank service charges and so on. Food and beverage for our meetings that we have in the different activities that we do, general expenses and so on. So you see all of those line items. Hopefully you can see them more clearly now. They weren't so clear before on the other slides. You see the walk for liberty that we did, 351,000. So we've really done a lot of stuff with very little money. So 2.7 million was spent. So we finished the year with a net profit of 7.4 compared to last year of 72,000. And these are again just based on the raw data, in terms of what was done. On a balance sheet perspective, if we were to look on the balance sheet, since you didn't see earlier, I'm going to try to see if we can flip over to the balance sheet here. And of course, we're being very detailed here, which is not the way you normally want to have it, but I think it's good for you to just see exactly where we are as an organization, so that if you're asked any questions, you know what's going on. So this sheet just shows you where we were in terms of our cash positions. We ended the year with 1.56 million in the bank, which is nothing again, but it's still better than in previous years. We have accounts receivable, which was some monies that was outstanding in the GoFundMe account at the end of the year, which we hadn't collected yet from that account. It hasn't been transferred yet. We have some inventory on hand, which was, shirts that were purchased to be resold that were sitting in inventory at the end of the year. Small amount of assets, $134,000 in equipment and furniture that we use to operate. It's depreciated by 23,000, not very significant. And then we have liabilities, a deferred revenue of 770,000, which is really the amount that we set aside for legal fees, which have not yet been paid out. So it's deferred in our books as deferred revenue until we have the expenses to recognize them against. Members of the board oftentimes lend money to the organization by way of purchasing things upfront for the organization, and we're reimbursed for them. So at the end of the year, the organization owed Mr. Thompson $72,000. It owed me $79,000, and it owed Mr. McDonald $120,000 for a total of $1 million in liabilities at the end of the year. Then you have the equity section, which shows you that we had a net retained earnings or surplus, as it's normally called in a non-profit entity, $711,000. So not stellar numbers, great in terms of the hard work that we've put in. I think I saw somebody asking a question, how many donors do we have? One look will show you, and if you add up all the donations that we've gotten at different times, you can have different numbers. So it varies from time to time. But let's now get some questions on screen, if I can find where we were. 1 second. Let me get back to us here. Okay, where are we here? 1 second. Okay, good. There we go. All right. Are we receiving significant contribution to make a difference to, or do we need more contributions? Bottom line, we need a lot more contributions if we're going to be able to do the full work that we want to do. It's a very, very expensive job. So just to put things in context, all like we have as of today, we have one paid staff as of today, one. Over the history of the organization, we have never had more than 2 paid staff, which is tremendously amazing for any organization of our nature to be operating with so much volunteer effort. So hats off to all of you who have been volunteering to build this organization. Unfortunately, though, for us to be successful, we need to have at least a core contingent of paid staff, because what happens when you rely entirely on volunteers is that we cannot be efficient, we cannot be as effective as we need to be, because those persons have to divide their time between their regular job and their businesses, and then trying to fit in the UIC within that. So for example, if you notice in the other parties, the leaders are able to spend a lot of time on the road just going around. That's because somebody else is taking care of their expenses. You know, their lives are being paid for. Otherwise, the more we rely on volunteers, is the less we can be very active out in the field, because it's just very difficult for volunteers to fully manage. Even the planning, to plan and organize things in a properly run political organization, you can have a staff of people meeting and they're planning the activity. So when the volunteers come, things are in place for them. You know, you have the logistics are worked out, the tents are rented and organized, and so you have things looking really polished and really well done because you have the staff there to do the work. In a volunteer setting, many things are left incomplete because they just don't have the time to do it during the day, the daylight hours from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. to work out the various, mechanics and get the things done. And so when you're there waiting, you're saying, wow, the UIC, I need to see you out there doing more. But unfortunately, that's it's very difficult to do that. We're doing it, we've done a lot of it, but it's not as easy as it might appear. We can change that question now. I think we can put another question on the screen. I see somebody asking, how many people on this? Hello, UIC people, join the live. Well, thank you for that. Does the UIC still have official bank account? It's for N. Williams. So, Ms. Williams, can you answer that question? The person wants you to answer it.
Sure. No, the UIC still doesn't have a bank account. The only account that they have is a PT bank, which is more of a credit union. So that bank, no, they don't really do. Well, they're not. I wouldn't call. They're not up to date with the whole thing. Where you have a card, you can go to an ATM machine and stuff to withdraw cash. No, they still have an old-fashioned system where you still have to go in bank to do deposits and stuff. So other than that, no, we've tried with numerous banks, JN, NCB, and it's just has been a runaround. So not at the moment. We still don't have a bank account officially.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's take some more questions from the sidebar or comments. I see Sheldon Wallace saying Supreme TV. Sorry, I missed that. Douglas says, what plans are there to increase the membership? Well, the way to increase the membership is for us to continue to communicate with the Jamaican people here at home and abroad and invite you to join. Yes, we do have a structure which should help. We have our 3 vice presidents and our parish managers and our candidates who are supposed to, bring in new members. We have a strategy where in every single division, you have a team of 12, and in every single polling division, you have a team of 12, and in each of these groups, they're seeking to get at least 10 other persons. So it should build out quite nicely. But that's easier said than done, because you have to train people, you have to organize people. So we continue to work on our members and membership to grow the member base. We really depend on you. It's for you to tell your family and friends, and to encourage them to join and to contribute if we want to build a better Jamaica. Should foreign investors be able to invest in our politic? Carleen Jones. Carleen, I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that, in the sense that who is a foreign investor? If you're talking about members of the diaspora, then Gary and Owen are two examples, right? Both of them are investing in our political system. They're investing their time, their talent, their resources, their financial contribution. So they are investing in the organization. We also have to be careful about the word investing. I know we use it generally, but sometimes investors want a particular return. So what we're talking about is a social return here, not a financial return per se. So hope that is a bit clear. You want to comment on that, Gary or Owen?
Yes, in terms of the donations coming, foreign donations, that's one of the things that will grow the U.S. But we just have to be careful of how we go about getting those funds, and to know that those funds coming into the UIC are, of course, clean funds, so that the UIC can then move to deliver the program and activities that is required to move Jamaica forward. And that's one of the issues that we have with programs that we're working on and with the finance committee, as well as trying to get those funds coming in as much as we can, because we need it as much and as quickly as possible, so that the UIC can carry out the activities to match the two other parties, because they have so much funds available to them that it makes the UIC seem as though it's really not working, it's not doing anything, but UIC is pushing out all its effort, given the limited resources that it has. It is trained by the financial resources, but given that, it's pushing out all the stops to get things done and to move the party forward.
Yeah, thank you, Gary. Were you going to comment, Ms. Williams? Do we have any more questions? Go ahead. We're not hearing you clearly.
Can you hear me now?
It's a bit muffled. I'm not too sure what's happening with your voice there. We can hear you, but it's just not clear. But go ahead and speak. We'll try to decipher.
No, I'm saying, Sir KB is saying, he's asking if there's a radio.
I'm so sorry. Couldn't hear what you're saying. I can hear you, but I can't hear distinctly what you're saying. But anyways, let me just respond to Maurice Williams. Thank you, Maurice. Our goal is to be 100% transparent. Now, of course, being transparent also comes with a risk. And the risk is that the more transparent you are, is the more your opponent knows your weaknesses. So the more you give out information, is the more your opponent knows your information, and therefore your opponent is in a much better position to defeat you. Our opponents do not carry forward this level of transparency. So the UIC is a very vulnerable party because we mute your mic for me, Ms. Williams. I think there's a feedback, or is it Gary? It's Gary. Could you, Owen rather. Owen, could you mute your mic for me? Thank you. So our opponents have you know, they own the system. They own the system. They know the system like the back of their hand. You know, the PNP is over 80 odd years old. The GLP is almost 80 years old. They have been at this. They know the game. It's their game. They created the rules. They know exactly how to hide things from you. They know how to manipulate your emotions. They have been working at this for years. So they fully understand. And so what I'm trying to do is to educate us to become aware of how much we're being manipulated. And the biggest manipulation, which maybe you have not seen until now, is that no matter who you're voting for, it's the same group that is paying for you to vote for them. It's the same group that's paying for the marketing, right? So you have one group behind the scenes, which you know about them, but you don't know the extent to which they're manipulating you. And it's the PSOJ oligarchy, right? So these guys, they have, you know, the millions and millions of dollars, and they give this money to these two parties. And these two parties, they go into the community, they create community groups, they donate monies to charitable activities, they give persons money on election day, they buy t-shirts and give it away, they buy caps and give it away, they buy armbands and give it away, they have festive occasions and they feed the people, they have back to school treats, they have, you know, all kinds of activities. And when you have millions of dollars from, just imagine if, you know, if Elon Musk was to come tomorrow and decided he loves the UIC and decides to give us $1 billion US dollars tomorrow, you know, 1 billion US, 155 billion Jamaican, we would be able to do everything. We would be able to put on the treats, we'd be able to give out monies, give out t-shirts, give out caps. I wouldn't have to worry about going to work every day. I could be on the road and you'll be happy now. You say, hey, look at Mr. Patterson, really out there. You know, I'll be out there, I'll be everywhere, and I'll be shaking hands and kissing babies, and you'll be excited and say, yeah, UIC for real. Now, the truth is, maybe when Elon Musk gives that billion US dollars, I also made a backdoor deal with him and say, okay, Elon, when I win, I'm going to do this and going to do that, and you're going to be able to sneak in and then take over Jamaica without anybody knowing, and so on, right? You wouldn't know that. What you would see is the pretty beautiful campaign. You don't have to worry about giving any donations. You keep your money in your pocket. You're comfortable. You're happy. For you now, it's a nice entertainment. You know, you see the flashy ads, the flashy promotions, the nice pamphlets that we're giving out, and you'd be very pleased. You'd be cheering and saying, finally, Jamaica has hope, a third party that's going to change Jamaica. But what you don't know is that some very wealthy persons behind the scenes are backing this movement. And what we're telling you is not the truth. We'll just be telling you something to make you feel good. And then when you elect us, we will then do something else. And yes, you can vote us out in 5 years, but that might be too late. The damage may be so entrenched that 5 years doesn't matter, right? And in the following 5 years, why not give me another $1 billion again? And this time I can even bribe more people and get more people to vote, and the other two parties are in the dust. And again, you may now be less happy, but we still win. Here's the alternative. The alternative is we, the people, decide that we are going to fund our own party. That is the ethos of the UIC. That is the genesis of the UIC. That's why it's called United Independence Congress. Independent thinkers. We're no longer tribal. We're not PNP or JLP. We're Jamaicans. So we live in Florida, we live in Texas, we live in Kingston, we live in Clarendon, we live wherever we live. We have come together now as a people, as one. And for the first time in our history as a people, for the first time in our history as a people on this island called Jamaica, we would have turned our backs on the trickery of our colonial masters and take our own destiny in our hands. We now own the political party, we own the political system, and we own the direction that the country takes, as opposed to simply voting based on how the wealthy frame their options. Because here's the secret, right? Here's the big deal. Here's the big deal. Voting is not enough. What is important is who decides who you get to vote for. So if you have the PSOJ oligarchs being able to put before you a fake option, vote green or vote orange, it's a fake option. They just fund that option so that you feel you're making a choice. And then they fund them equally, roughly speaking, and say, go out there and put on a dog and pony show. Be our clowns, our jesters. And they sit down in their very palatial homes and watch it on television and laugh at the stupidity of the people who get excited and go out and vote for one or the other, not realizing that they're still voting for the same master. The master has only put a fake option in front of you. Do you want green or do you want orange? It's still going to be the same bitter medicine, but which of the dressings do you want on it? Do you want an orange dressing or a green dressing on it? You get your dressing, but you still swallow the bitter medicine. And here's the bitter medicine: higher cost of living, higher crime rate, terrible hospitals, failing schools, bad roads, lack of opportunities, and everybody want to leave the country to go on greener pastures. So what happened? We lose our best and our brightest, and the concentration of our least best and least brightest increases. And as you have an increase in one type of people, the entire society starts to degrade. But just imagine if you had a good mix of some very bright people, some not so bright people, some dunce people, but we mix up together and so we lift everybody up. But if we keep losing our best and our brightest because we keep allowing the same hidden masters to trick us, and then we leave, many of us leave our country as economic refugees, go somewhere else, and we build up another man's country. Not because we want to, we're not being unpatriotic, we're being wise. We're leaving a bad situation to go to one that's going to make us better off. But let us now say we become wise and say, hold on a second. Maybe, even though I've left my country, what I can do is contribute to a political movement that will take my country back so I can come back, even if it's only in retirement, to a safe, clean, and orderly country. I can stay where I'm at. I can stay in Germany or France or Israel or Africa or Asia, wherever I'm at, the USA, Canada, Britain, and I can contribute financially, and I can contribute intellectually, like Gary and Owen are doing. I can contribute voluntarily to build a movement that is 100% indigenous. It is about the grassroots, building our nation from the bottom up, as opposed to simply hoping and praying and wishing for change. I am of this philosophy. I believe the true God The God that we all should worship is the God that says, I have given you a brain to think. I have given you eyes to see. I have given you hands to create and to shape and to form and to build. I have given you feet to move. Don't just sit down and wait for a Messiah. Be the change you want to see. And you can be that change in various ways. Some of us can only donate money. Some of us can only donate skills. And some of us can only donate cheerleading. But let us all donate whatever we can. Money, skills, cheerleading, tell the whole world about it. And if all of us play our part, we can harness the funds in skills and talents and skills, abilities, the funds in hard cash, the funds in numbers, and we can come together and we can make sure that never again will there be any government in Jamaica that is able to take us for a ride. That's the purpose of the UIC. So Douglas Allen asked a question. Since we can't fund everything, and marketing and PR is key, can we prioritize and find a full-time unit to handle the underground marketing of the UIC? Many Jamaicans don't have internet access. Absolutely, Douglas. We can organize and fund anything. We just have to fund it. So yes, we need marketing, we need PR, we need graphics persons, we need all kinds of skills. So if we all, let's say 1,000 of us gave $25 US a month, 1,000. That's 25,000 US dollars a month. That can make a huge difference for the UIC. 1,000. Let's make that our goal today. We want to find 1,000 persons donating $25 a month, and that will give us the funds we need to reach the length and breadth of Jamaica, at least in a more visible, active, and engaging way than we have done so far. Can we agree to that? Whichever platform you're on, if you agree to that we set a goal of 1,000 persons giving $25 a month, just type yes, wherever you are. And I will know that you're saying you're willing and ready to help us to get to 1,000 Jamaicans, home or abroad, giving $25 US a month, so that we can actually achieve. It can be 25 pounds, that's fine too. It can be 25 Canadian. It can be 2,500 Jamaican, whatever it is. If you say, let's work together and let's find 1,000 persons to give $25 US a month, so that we have the funds to at least get a strong marketing presence on the ground across Jamaica, all 14 parishes, just type yes, and we can get it done. I see Garnet Gizada said yes. I see Andrew Campbell said yes. I see Ken Francis said yes. That's 3 of us so far. Do we have any more yeses? If you think that together we can create a donor base of at least 1,000 persons consistently giving $25 a month, type yes on whatever platform you're watching, whether it's on YouTube or on Facebook or wherever. I see Cool Guy saying yes. I see Carvel Burrell saying yes. I see Anne-Marie Taylor saying yes. I see Christopher Lawrence saying yes. I see Stronger Together saying yes. So together we can do this. All it takes is for us to say yes. And each of us making that commitment to give $25 per month. Douglas Harper says yes. Bruce Davis says yes. Sheldon Wallace says yes. E.J. Walker says yes. JMH says yes. How many out of many? One people together says JMH. Yes. Desmond Myrie says yes. Cool Guy says he's going to double his contribution. And so if all of us just jump in like that, we can get it done. You know something? I was on a program, when was it? I think it was yesterday. Was it yesterday? I was on Best FM with Minette Lawrence and her partner. I forgot his name right now, but they interviewed me on that program. I think it was yesterday. I'm losing track of time now because I do so many things. Sometimes I can't keep up. And she said on the program, Mr. Patterson, how about a strategy where you get the middle class to fund the UIC? The middle class. And I said, my goodness, she has a point. If those of us in the middle class, and by the way, that class is shrinking, because the global monetary system is trying very hard to get rid of the middle class. We're going to only have two classes. The poor, the working poor, that's one group, and then you have the small number of wealthy people at the top. Yeah. So together, we have to join hands. One coca will fill this basket. And by the way, let me tell you this. As more people are saying yes, Rosemary King says yes. Sonia Mignot in Canada said yes. I think I see Audley or Audrey Walk, I'm not sure, saying yes. Maurice says 3 times yes. Here's the thing. The truth is, we don't need as much money as the PNP and JLP. Honestly, they need a lot more money than we do because they have failed so badly. They have to work very, very hard to reconvert the voters. So they need at least 4 times as much money as us. For every $1,000 we will spend, they need to at least have $4,000 to $5,000 because they're a failed product. Everybody know now that product is a failure. There's so much experience now. We have 70 years experience, 78 years. If you think about it, right now we have a JLP government. Think about this carefully. The first time the JLP was elected was in 1944 for 5 years. And then they got a second term after that first election. So they had 2 terms to show Jamaica that they could make a big difference in the 1940s. And they failed. And so the Jamaican people turned to the PNP. And then they gave the PNP 2 terms. Yeah. And the PNP again failed after 2 terms. The people switch again back to the JLP. And then they failed again for 2 terms to the point where by the 1990s, 1992, I think, the 89 election, the PNP went straight for 18 and a half years because the people thought to themselves, a number of things were happening, but the people thought to themselves, the PNP positioned itself as the party for social justice, the party that cares about and loves the poor, the party that, they always say they want to help poor people. Let's give them a chance. So they gave them more than 2 years. They got 4 terms in office. 4 terms in office. 4 terms in office. The people gave them that opportunity to say, just do it. Just all the promises you have made to us, just deliver on those promises. Now, mind you, they got some help because the JLP was so hated because they had a leader who the people now saw a particular way. They saw in him a certain amount of negatives that they couldn't bring themselves to ever vote for him again. Whether it's true or false, people get demonized and so on, but that's not the point. The people were so turned off from the JLP that they gave the PNP 18 and a half years. No party should get 18 and a half years and come out of it being weaker than it went in. The people should have had a chance to see firmly how you're going to transform their lives and build a magnificent nation that would want to vote for you forever. If you think me a lie, go to Singapore and look what happened. The people took a chance and they elected Lee Kuan Yew in 1965. They never unelected him. Lee Kuan Yew never lost an election for the 30 years he was in office. Every 5 years he won the next election. Now some of you probably believe it's a dictatorship over there. It wasn't. The people saw that Lee Kuan Yew, he was like a Michael Mann to them, by the way. They revered him the way Jamaicans revered Michael Mann. But he delivered. He gave them a safe, clean, and orderly, anti-corrupt country. He stamped out corruption with a iron fist. If you call that dictatorship, fine, but he stamped out corruption. We would have loved if somebody would have stamped out corruption in Jamaica. Lee Kuan Yew stamped out corruption in Singapore. So much so that he allowed his best friend to go to jail. A fellow minister, a fellow party finder, somebody who helped him to form the party, he allowed him to go to jail because he was tainted by corruption. That sent a message through the rest of the party, the rest of the government, and the rest of the nation. They saw a leader who was not afraid to dish out justice by not interfering in the judicial process that prosecuted his own friend. And so Lee Kuan Yew set a standard of anti-corruption from day one. The next thing he did was to say Singapore must be a clean country. You can't even drop chewing gum on the ground or you're going to get lashes. And so Singapore today is one of the cleanest countries on the planet because of a principled and focused leader who knew how to build a great country. You cannot have a great country if it's dirty. A clean country brings out the best in people. When they wake up in the morning and step out of their door and see a clean, fresh, beautified environment, it lifts the spirit, it lifts productivity, and it brings out the best out of everybody. He understood that. So he made Singapore clean and green. That was his motto, clean and green. So the place must be clean and it must be well decorated with natural flowers and grass and trees and stuff like that. That's what the UIC is going to do for Jamaica. When you come to the new Jamaica that we're going to create, you're going to think it's paradise. It's going to be like the Garden of Eden, the way we're going to decorate it from east to west and north to south. You're going to want to sit outside more than you sit inside because of how pretty the country is going to be. Lee Kuan Yew understand how to create a country that truly can be a tourist destination, not just for the people from outside, but for its own citizen. If you can lift up and respect your own citizen, you can bring forward an abundance of tourists and maximize your strategic advantage as to what God has blessed us with. Jamaica has everything to be a wealthy country. We just don't have the leaders and the system of governance to make it happen. And so Lee Kuan Yew made the country clean, he made it safe. He created a police service that respected the citizens, that worked with the citizens, that are a part of the community in the country. And because of that, the crime rate in Singapore is less than almost every country on the planet. So safe and clean. And then he said there must be public order, efficiency in government. You're not going to stand up in a long line. The government must treat you with courtesy. When you go into a government office, you must be treated with respect and efficiency, because Lee Kuan Yew understand inefficiency in government creates inefficiency in the economy, which creates poverty for everybody, except those who are corrupt and getting the top of the pie. You understand? So he wiped that out. By now you can tell that I am a student of Lee Kuan Yew. He is my example and hero when it comes down to somebody who loves their country and want to create a vibrant and beautiful country for the people. So safe, clean, orderly, anti-corrupt. And then he did the most important thing we failed to do. Lee Kuan Yew invested in human capital. So he made sure that the dunces, let's say it this way, the brightest math student in Jamaica is the dunces math student in Singapore. I hope you understand that. The brightest math student in Jamaica is the dunces math student in Singapore. That's how you build a great nation, by making sure that the minds of your children are well developed. You can't do that by having basic school teachers who don't know what they're teach. You must make sure that your basic school teachers have master's degrees in education, who understand child development and how children learn. You must have a nutrition program that makes sure those basic school children come to school with the right nutritional levels to be able to comprehend and understand and to be able to learn and grow. Lee Kuan Yew understood that, and so he invested in early childhood education in a way that made sure they passed at basic school, they passed at primary school, they passed at secondary school, and they passed in the trades and tertiary programs. Because of that now, all of Singapore's population, the vast majority, are high-skilled workers. Singapore doesn't import skilled workers. Singapore imports low-skilled workers because they have so built their population that they don't have enough people to do the jobs at the bottom. Their population is prepared to do the jobs at the top. And the jobs are there because all the companies in the world go to Singapore because that's where they're going to find high quality, highly productive, well-mannered, well-behaved, well-disciplined workers. And so Singaporeans have a much higher standard of living and a much higher earning per GDP, per capita GDP, than most countries in the world, and by far much better than Jamaica. Yet still in 1965, Singapore was worse than Jamaica on every single index you can think of. They had religious warfare. They had linguistic warfare. They had a lot of transient people. They weren't homogeneous. They weren't together. They didn't see themselves as one. And Lee Kuan Yew brought them together. He unified them. He strengthened them and made them into a powerful nation. We can do the same. Don't tell me about their ethnic differences or their cultural differences. Culture is created. And we in Jamaica, our leaders have created a culture in Jamaica. They've created a culture of scamming, a culture of criminality, a culture of laziness, a culture of dependency. They got us to clap and cheer when they go borrow money. They got us to clap and cheer when they go beg money. They never got us to focus on becoming tough entrepreneurs that can create and design and produce and export to the rest of the world. And so the UIC is going to change that. We're going to reform the culture of Jamaica, reform the minds of Jamaicans, so we can build a more powerful Jamaica that is dependent on us understanding that each of us are responsible for contributing to the productivity of this nation. All of us must be taxpayers. All of us must be a part of the development process in this country. Nobody must be left out and nobody must be left behind. Let us all get the help that we need to be empowered, and let us all contribute to the country so that we can have a beautiful, well-developed, prosperous country that is safe, clean, and orderly. So my friends, if you want this Jamaica, you have to pay for it. You get what you pay for. We cannot continue to hope that somebody's going to come and pay for the transformation. We have to pay for the transformation. We have to join hands together. We have to take back our country. So if we wait for those few in the PSOJ to do it, they're not going to do it because they're happy with the way things are. They're happy with seeing the Chinese take over our companies. They're happy with seeing the Indians take over our country. They're happy to see many more of our children languishing in the alley of unemployed. They're happy to see the high crime rate with their high fences and their security bars and their camera systems and their dogs and their escorted security. The Prime Minister is happy to fly around in an helicopter to get by the bad roads that he's left for us. He will fly from one end to the next. He's okay. That's why he has built his mansion where he has built it, and that's why he has overseas companies that he has invested in and that he's using to avoid taxation in Jamaica. He has planned out what works for him. It's time for you and me to plan out what will work for us as Jamaicans. And so I'm appealing to you. If you want it, you have to pay for it. I am not afraid to talk about money. I am making it very clear to you. I want to do the job that I have offered myself for, and I need your help to pay for that. Don't listen to the naysayers. Let us focus on the harsh reality that we cannot get it done without each of us pitching in our time, our talent, and our treasure to whatever extent we can do it. If it's $1, give it. If it's 1 hour, give it. If it's one skill, donate it and help us to get where we need to go. Let me turn over now back to our goodly friends on the Finance Committee. Sorry for taking over your program. I'll put back the last words in your hands. Madam Treasurer, Mr. Chairman of the Finance Committee and member of the committee, I will allow you to have the last words on all of this before we come off this live.
Okay. Yeah. Just to wrap up, I think this session was good. I think we covered the information that we needed to put out there for the members, for them to understand a little more of where UIC is and what we are faced with. So we can come to the table and with the realization that a lot more needs to be done. But we understand why it needs to be done. I think we are successful in getting that across to those who are online. Also, bear in mind that one of the things that UIC wants to do is to correct bad situations that we have been faced over the past 78, 79 years. What has happened and has pretty much been entrenched into the landscape of politics in Jamaica is that politicians have risen to the level beyond their level of competence. So they have risen beyond their level of competence. So what happens is the policies and the structures that comes down from them is just not relevant to the time, and what they resort to in many instances is corruption. Because there's very little that they can contribute because they have very little to contribute. Right, so that has formed the landscape of the political environment and politics in Jamaica, and I think that has created that environment that we currently live in. So the result of that is bad roads, bad politics, more crime, more corruption, and everything that's negative. There's hardly anything positive that's coming forward. This is the movement that I think can change all of that. We have to make the effort to make sure that the UIC is on that path to make that difference. Yes, but I think at the end of it, I think we have communicated very precisely what we need to do and how we need to go forward.
Thank you. Gary, your turn, and then we close off with Ms. Williams. Well, I think your volume is gone, Gary. Your volume is gone, Gary. Something is wrong. Can you hear him? Ms. Williams, can you hear Gary?
No, I'm not sure.
All right, your volume is really gone. All right, hopefully we can fix that. Go ahead, Ms. Williams, your final words to everyone out there. I see some lovely comments coming in from a number of persons.
Just to add to what you said about persons needing to pay for what they want. We, the UIC, we cannot focus on getting donations from the bigger companies because they've already taken their dip from the cup of corruption. We do not want that kind of money flowing through the UIC. We are depending on the people to fund the UIC so that we can work for the people, right? So, persons, people, get your donations together. The UIC is working for you, right? So make your donations and watch us put in the work.
Thank you. Let's try Gary again. See if Gary, want to try again? See if you have volume. Yeah, no, your volume is gone, Gary. We can't hear you at all.
Not hearing you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, your volume is gone. But
Yeah.
no worries. We'll bring.
I think one of the things now that we've done tonight to be transparent. One second, let me see.
We're hearing you now. We're good. Keep going.
Are you hearing?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can hear you now. Yeah, I think he has a delayed reaction there on his side. But we're going to close it off now. Let me just say a big thank you to all of you. I will get the finance committee back because I think we had a bit of a hiccup in our presentation, but we'll come back again and we'll get a little bit more granular. We'll fix up our slides better and make sure that you have clarity. And what we're going to do is every so often, maybe I won't make a commitment, but maybe once every so often we come on and give you an update, how much we have raised, on what we have spent on, so you can get an idea continuously, how you're doing. And we'll tell you how many persons we have committed to the $25 a month. So if we have 10, we tell you the 10, 20, 50, 100, 200, 1,000. So our goal now is to get to 1,000. So every week we'll report to you how close we are to the 1,000 and how much we have raised and tell you how we're spending it. Okay. So once a week,
Is that
the
better?
committee.
Or are you hearing me, or it's still low?
We're hearing you now. We're hearing you now. Go ahead. Okay, we tried.
Oh,
So we tried. We'll be back. We'll be back again. Let's next week we'll come back with the finance committee, and we'll hear how much we have done in terms of the $25 per month. How many persons we have?
I'm trying
25
to
or
fix
more.
that, but it doesn't seem to
No worries.
be working.
It happens. Next time. We'll do it next time.
Are you hearing me?
So thank you all. Yes, we are, but we're going to have to shut you off though. So thanks to all of you so much for being here with us tonight. We fully appreciate it. Have a good night until we meet again. Take care and God bless you all. Have a good night.
Oh, okay.